Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fuel for Success. This episode number 143. It's Friday morning. We love Fridays for a lot of reasons. Um, Not necessarily the reasons that most people do.
We love every day, man.
We love
Fridays because it's Friday. We don't have to work anymore.
right?
We get depressed when we don't work anymore.
Well, that and our weekends are usually not off.
Yeah,
We work most weeks.
actually the opposite. We should be pumped about Sunday night.
Yeah, it's Monday. So, anyways, today's Friday, and so we're excited for a couple of reasons. We're here in Detroit. Matt and I in the same room. We're going to dub this studio Detroit, and this is our third broadcast in this very room. So awesome here in the Crown Plaza in Detroit. We're here for Mission 25, of course, which launches tonight. That's one reason we're excited about Friday. Another reason is today is, of course, just like every Friday, we're going to talk about family and relationships. And this may be the popular day of Fuel for Success. As you know, we have 5 different days of the week. We do 5 different topics. The feedback that I get is this is most people's favorite.
I get that all the time. Everywhere I go somewhere, I've had people come up and say, listen, I live for the Friday show. Because, Mike, at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. And everybody wants to have a strong family, a strong marriage, date the right people, be friends, and, have high-quality relationships and friendships in their life. So I'd have to say, if somebody was to ask me what's my favorite, that's one thing we've never admitted. Because I love the health show.
Yeah.
I love the entrepreneurship show. I love the spiritual show, the life coaching, finance, and wealth show. But I think this has a little bit of an edge for me as a favorite. What about you?
That's a tough question, and I'm actually. I'm not sure if we're live.
Usually that means no, and it happens to me. I think we're good now.
Are we good now? I think I need a little more balance between Thursdays and Mondays. A lot of times I'm working so much that I don't get a chance to go to the gym, and then Monday comes around and we talk about health and weight loss, and I'm like, dude, I've been to the gym in 4 days.
We've got a nice gym here at this hotel. It's got a sauna and everything.
Have we used it yet?
Not yet, but I plan to today, my friend.
Plan to. That would be good. Are we super blurry? You know what? I'm going to switch my network over and see if this helps out a little bit. Apologize for the any. A little bit better. Good morning, Pacey. Hopefully that's a little bit better. We're trying to manage multiple networks here, and it's difficult to do remote studios. We need a truck with one of those big antennas.
We need a mobile. We need a whole production company to travel with us. Video team.
That would be amazing. So anyway, I think Thursday is probably my favorite. Although Friday's, I don't know, Thursday, Friday, right in there either way.
What we're going to be talking about today, Mike. This is going to be a good day. I'm looking forward to this. And by the way, thank you for all those that showed up last night for our Mission 25 broadcast. I believe we raised right at about $800 for Mission 25 last night. So thank you for everyone that gave and donated to that. Be in prayer for us this weekend. We're excited. We're right here in Detroit. But tell us what we got going on today, some of the things we're going to be talking about.
Well, we're going to be talking about seasons in relationship and a little bit more about safe people. We've talked about that in the past, and so I've got a few questions related to that. Of course, I want everyone to know that if you're on here live watching, you can feel free to ask questions and interact. That's one of the things that makes this platform and makes this show great, is the folks to join us and ask questions and follow-up questions even on topics that we have. And, of course, feel free to text in questions or email them to mike@mattmaddox.com, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So let me ask you the first question that we have, that's kind of in the queue here, is about seasons in a relationship. And this may be a new concept to some folks that are watching today. Maybe they never really even thought about seasons in a relationship. We hear about seasons in life, maybe even seasons in career. But explain a little bit about seasons in relationships.
Mike, we've literally got to get to the place we trust God for almost everything. We've also got to trust God for our relationships, our connections, our inner circle. Because I'm going to say it again, and I know we've said it many times, and we'll probably say it 1,000 more times in the future, that the most important thing in your life is your inner circle, who you associate with. Literally, what you become is who you associate with. And so because of that, we've got to trust that God brings the right people into our life. And so not only that, though, probably the hardest thing for people to accept is that not all relationships and connections, I'm not just talking dating here, I'm talking friendships, connections, are meant to be for a lifetime. And that's so hard for people to accept. That, what's the question again? I want to make sure.
Can you explain seasons in relationships?
Yeah, seasons is that's why we've got to live in the moment. We've got to live in gratitude. We've got to cherish the now because, God brings people into our life sometimes just for a season, for a purpose. And no matter what, no matter how bad you want to maintain a connection with that person at a deep level, if the season is over, there's literally nothing you can do about it. It's just something that you have to trust and grieve over, hurt over, but reminisce and cherish the good times and not take it so personal if, like, maybe there's a set of friends or even a church, man. I was talking to my son on the way up here just about my journey in life. And through my journey, I've had some unbelievable connections with people that we're not connected to right now. And it's not that I've forgotten about them or they've forgotten about me. It was just for a season. And that's hard to accept. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, and what you're talking about isn't necessarily a situation where there's like a blow up or a conflict and the relationship falls apart or anything like that. But and I've experienced the same thing. I mean, sometimes you'll have, even maybe for a couple of years, you'll have a very close relationship with someone else, a friend or sometimes even a coworker, somebody that they're very close to. You share a lot of things, and it's almost just like an intersection in life. And then you pass through, and in that intersection time, you're very close, but you're both moving in different directions, and God's taking you in different directions. And so it ends up being, just for a period of time. And those are hard. They're extremely hard. And one of the things that I've found that is really difficult with it too is those that are really close to you that are also involved because being married and having kids, my wife and my kids are also subject to all of the relationships and all the connections that I have, and so they'll also grow close to people, and that's difficult for them as well. I can think of a few people off the top of my head that were very close for a period of time, maybe 2 or 3 years, and there's no problem there with them, but we just drifted apart, and it wasn't. I wouldn't call it a negative thing. It's just a period of time, and it was great while we were close, and now we're not.
Yeah, something, Mike. In all relationships, you have to learn how to give and receive. Now, I'm going to tell all of you out there why some of you struggle with connections and relationships, because you don't know how to receive. And we always talk about the giving side of love, the giving side of connection, the giving side of relationships. Believe it or not, Mike, what can hinder some relationships and connections is not knowing how to receive. And when you understand that all relationships are about giving and receiving, you also understand that God sometimes puts people in your life to be a blessing to you. And I've said this before. And sometimes God puts people in our lives for us to be a blessing to them. And sometimes it's both.
Yeah.
Rare is it both. And sometimes it's just for a season of your life that it's the kindness of God that brings this person into your life to be a blessing to you. It's the kindness of God. I'll give you an example, Mike. When I came off the road 2 years ago, it was a big step of faith for me. You'll remember. I canceled every engagement I had to be home with my son. I literally had no income coming in, and canceled we started a lot of business stuff. But there was a man I never met in my life. I went to my P.O. box, and there was a box in my P.O. box, and all it had in it was $2,100 bills. It was $2,000 in cash.
Nice.
And he literally did that every month for almost a year.
Wow.
I didn't know who he was. In fact, he put anonymous, and the address was anonymous. Finally, one time he accidentally put his return address, and I wrote him. And I said, I don't know who you are, but there's no way to thank you enough. And come to find out, I ended up connecting with him and finding out who he was. And he said, look, God literally called me to do this. I don't know how long. And Mike, it was all the way up until I needed it. You know, it was a season. It wasn't meant for him to do that for a life, but it was a season. That was hard to receive. I mean, not
Yeah.
really, but I mean, it was.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So there are moments when God calls people into your life for a season. And like you said, it's like the ocean. It comes in and it comes out. You know, it's like an intersection. I love that analogy. Sometimes you got to just accept that as hard as this is to let go, this connection, this rapport, this friendship, this relationship is not intended by God to be for a lifetime. And anything that's intended by God to be for a lifetime, you ready for this? Nothing will come between it. Lifetime relationships that are of God will last forever. They'll last. They'll last through the toughest times, the darkest times. They will last through, and that's how you know if something is of God. Sometimes you just test it, and you'll know. You'll just know. Nothing can pull it apart. It's like a Jonathan and David thing. You want to know the power of a lifelong relationship and connection. Study Jonathan and David, because that's one of the most unbelievable relationship connections you'll ever see in the whole Bible. And look how good Jonathan was to David even after David was dead. And that's how you know.
Vice versa, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. David, my bad. Thank you. Thank you.
They know.
He keeps
Yeah.
me in line with the Bible, my friends.
That's a great example, and that and the faithfulness of David, and just the longevity, the strength of that relationship is amazing. That is a great example. Let me check here real quick. I was not in my home studio, so I have to be a little more diligent about watching for questions. Hey,
Yes, you do.
yes, I do.
Yes, you do. Mike, have you ever gone through a situation where you thought someone was going to be in your life forever and they're not in your life now? How'd you deal with that?
Yes, I have, and it is difficult. I think for me, how I dealt with it, as I said before, probably it was harder for my wife and for my kids than it was for me. For me, I'm an extremely logical person. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not robotic or anything, right? I'm not Spock from Star Trek, but close. Yeah. People like, oh, did you see it? I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
I know. That drives me nuts.
I'm working on it. I'll try to do better. Anyway, but I'm a very logical person. I can look at it, and if I can make sense of it in my mind and say, I understand that this was for a season. This is something that God has ordained. For me, it's actually very easy for me to just have peace with it. Okay, well, this is what God wants, and probably one of the time, maybe next Wednesday, I'll talk a little bit about perspective. God literally gave me a vision about perspective, actually several visions about perspective that changed my understanding completely of who God is and who I am in relationship to Him. And that made it very easy for me to come to terms with the things that God was doing in my life. So for me, it was easy to deal with in those cases. It was hard to manage, my inner circle that were also affected by those relationships. And that to me was kind of a challenge. But it's really, in that case, was an explanation of or a situation of explaining. Look, it's not that. The first thing that people begin to think is they begin to think, did I do something wrong? Is there something that I did that caused this? Is there and I think it's healthy to do that. I mean, if a relationship begins to separate, you begin to grow apart from someone, and you said, test to see whether it is of God. I think it's important to sort of have some introspection and say, is there something, is there a problem? Is there something that I did? Is there a barrier? Did I do something that caused this? Or is this literally just, a situation where God's taking my life in one direction, God's taking their life in another direction, and sort of evaluate that. And a lot of times we don't ask ourselves the hard questions.
We don't, Mike, and that's the thing. You gotta learn to grow. You gotta learn to grow from every situation, and no matter what, even if it is a seasonal relationship, remember God brings people into our life to teach us things. There's lessons from every single experience. There's lessons from every single situation you walked in. Because even, listen to this, even if it is a seasonal relationship or a lifelong relationship, God still expects us to treat those people like gold.
Right.
Like, I literally believe that our blessing in life is determined by how we treat people, from our family to our friends to the poor to elders to authority. I literally believe one of the reasons why some people are not blessed and not happy is because they don't treat people right.
Good.
Good thought.
One of the most famous verses in the Bible, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. What is the world in that context? Right? It's not the corruptible
Not
earth and
Moses.
the plants and all of that.
Yeah,
It's not the earth, it's the people. That's what God loved. And that's the only thing that really has value. And so I absolutely agree with you. We need to value people above all else. That's the only thing that really has value. That's what God loved. That's why Jesus came. So
I love what Pacey said right here. That was some good stuff. She said a different way to look at it is by not allowing others to bless you, you are robbing them of their blessing. So true. You know what it is, Mike? I think so many people in life grew up around unhealthy people and unhealthy relationships that it's almost like when someone wants to bless them, there's like this cynical, critical, like skeptical, like, what's this all about? When in reality, there's actually a few people out there that still get the joy of giving. I know me, and I know you feel the same way, and I know a lot of people on the show do. When I give something to somebody, like, I love doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a joy for me to bless somebody. And a lot of times, some people, when they're receiving, they feel guilty. They feel like, and you shouldn't feel guilty. You should, like Pacey said, God's going to bless that person that gives. And there used to be times when people would bless me, and I used to kind of feel guilty for it. Like, man, I don't want you to give of your money, man. I know you work hard for that. But at the same time, it's so true. Like, they're going to be so blessed for doing this. And not only that, the joy that comes in your life when you give to somebody is there's nothing that can compare to the real joy of giving. And so don't sabotage your relationships. It's like somebody that this is like you get into a dating relationship and someone is not used to be treating good. Like maybe it's a girl that had bad boyfriends and you go to be romantic and sweet and loving and whatever, and she closes up and she says, well, I'm just not used to being treated this good. Well, you better get used to it or you're going to keep attracting those jerks. That's the reason why you've got to learn to receive. You've got to learn to let loose and not continuously judge every experience, from your fractured relationship with your parents, or a wife that walked out on you, or a best friend that lied to you or betrayed you. You cannot allow the pain of the past to impact the way that you deal with people in the future. Not everybody's a crook. Not everybody's a liar. Not everybody's going to break your heart. Not everybody is going to steal from you. Not everybody is going to betray you. And I think I love what you said, Mike, and I can't wait to dive into that. The perspective has a lot to do with it. And the ability to receive and give has a lot to do with relationships.
That's good. Britton, I like your comment. Sometimes people fear that if something's too good to be true, right, that it's going to end up in disaster, or that you'll end up being hurt, and that's a common sentiment. And in fact, a colloquialism in America today is something looks too good to be true. It probably is. We have, and I say that, I'm guilty of that, and I've actually just thought of it when I read Britton's comment. I'm like, I got to stop saying that, because it isn't. I look at all kinds of miracles that seem too good to be true, blessings of God that seem too good to be true, but they are true.
And what Pacey said right here is just, it's there, man. So this may sound cruel, but sometimes we outgrow people and sometimes they outgrow us.
True.
That's been my number one problem in sustaining connections with people, is I am a dude that is a freak about growing and getting better. And some of the people that's wanted to roll with me have maintained such an average level that just by default of my passion for growth and their apathy for average has created friction in the relationship. And that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, there's literally nothing that that I can do about it. If you sometimes you outgrow people. Al said, "How do you outgrow someone?" Give an example. Let's give an example. We got some crazy people.
We should have the camera facing behind us with like the window, so it'd be like Good Morning America or something.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea, man. How do you outgrow somebody? I think a lot of it has to do with your attitude and where you're going in life and your mission in life and just how you live your life. When you grow and you want to become healthier and you want to manage your time better and you want to spend more quality time. All right, you ready for this? Let's say you and your buddy are on a softball team, and let's say you guys play 3 to 4 nights a week. But one of the dudes starts reading marriage books, and he realizes the value of quality time with his family, his wife, and he's like, "Yo, man, I'm only gonna play 1 night a week." And your other buddy's like, "What are you talking about? Like, man, we played every night all the time for 5 years."
Right.
And sometimes situations like that, But
I agree with what Al said. We don't have to match up on everything, and I don't think that's what Matt's saying. And to continue on with your example, if the guy that's reading the marriage books and is serious about creating more value in his marriage, adding value to his marriage, putting work into it, he could go to softball practice every week and 3-4 times a week see his buddy, and his buddy will maybe start to tear him down about it.
Yeah, and that's how you know if you've outgrown.
And say, "Man, I can't believe that. What are you? What's your problem? Your wife's in charge of you now. Aren't you wear the pants of the family or whatever?" Right? That kind of negative, derogatory talk.
You know what? Go ahead.
And that's a sure sign that one person is growing in the relationships, the other one isn't, and has a negative attitude about the growth that you're having. And I've seen that a lot in my life, even in spiritual matters and business matters, and people will, they won't understand and they won't be able to relate with what you're doing.
Like Mission 25.
Like, for example, Mission 25. That's a great example.
And not only Mission 25, but think about it. Like Mike and I are as opposite as you could imagine, okay? But the thing of it is we never stop growing, and we're on this path, and that's why we have such a good partnership in business and ministry, is because we're both just passionately growing. I'll give you an example. You ready for this? It's how I know whether or not you've outgrown someone, whether or not hanging out is going to become tough, all right? I had a guy that was pretty close to me in ministry partnership that used to travel with me a lot in boot camps. And he never liked connecting with people. He really didn't. He was the type that would want to do the block party and then literally get in the car and leave and go eat. When the service was over, I'd stay around and chat with everybody almost till the bitter end, man. Yeah. And then he would immediately want to leave. And there was always this friction because he's like, "Maddox, let's go." And I'm like, "No, man, we got to hang with the people here. Let's connect a little bit." And so that's my point. And then case in point, last night, Mike and I went out to eat, and we found this little hole-in-the-wall Mexican place that literally became one of the most inspiring moments of our life because we got to meet the owner. Anyways, we ended up having probably 20-minute conversation with the owner about business, okay? Well, I've got friends that literally would have been frustrated that I stood there and talked to them that long about that or whatever, or the case in point, I'm extremely into health, right? I'm a balanced person, but when you're into health and your inner circle won't at least try to take the journey with you, it's going to be tough. It really is going to be tough. No, he did not. Tell him to grab them something if they don't mind. They're checking on Caleb. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Here's the key to my room. Getting Caleb some breakfast. Isn't that cool? See, that's true friends right there.
Thanks for the coffee.
Anyways, so I hope we answer your question, Al, because that's the bottom line, my friend. It's just, it doesn't mean that you have to like everything the same. It doesn't mean that you have to agree on everything the same. It just means that you have a passion for personal growth. I just don't know how I can be close to anybody that doesn't read or grow or go to seminars or listen to stuff like Fuel for Success. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Me shutting the door.
I'm like, where are you going? He's rolling out of the show.
We got chairs with wheels on it. What do y'all got?
We were talking yesterday. This is totally off topic, but we really need to have like a behind-the-scenes
Fuel for success.
video.
We really do. You guys would weep laughing if you saw her behind the scenes.
If somebody would have had a camera on Wednesday when I was in that small town, I'm trying to get service and get working, and I'm sitting on a curb in small town USA, like trying to get the thing going. It was crazy.
See, Julia's perspective is that I was lazy rolling to the door. My perspective is I was having fun rolling.
Yeah, plus working his quads.
Yeah, working out my legs, girl. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Anyways, but yeah, that's very important, Mike, in relationships, to just make sure that the people that are closest to you have a passion for growth. That's all there is to it, especially in a marriage, especially in dating. And listen, once you get married, you're married, my friend. But you that are dating, you're dating someone that's not growing. That's alarm. That's red flags. That's almost termination of the relationship. You cannot date somebody that doesn't have a passion to grow and get better.
And we're assuming, since you're watching the show now, that you do have a passion to grow and get better.
Yes, absolutely. Totally assume that.
Which makes that a very true statement. Hey, let me ask you this question, because good segue. We talked about safe people before. I mentioned at the beginning of the show we were going to cover a little bit about safe people. Why is it important to have safe people in your life?
Mike,
maybe just a little bit of a background on what's a safe person.
It's important to have safe people because you only get one life. And that one life, see, if you believe you're put on this earth and you have a mission, like, listen, when you wake up to realize you have a life mission and purpose, okay, then you understand you only get one life to get it done. That's number one. Number two is life's all about your energy and your time. And when you get unsafe people in your life, they drain you and they exhaust you and they distract you. If you have people in your inner circle that drain you, exhaust you, distract you, and they're not safe, you don't trust them, you don't feel at peace around them, you're always looking over your shoulder, there's just this distraction that comes along with unsafe people. So what did you ask? How do you know if someone is safe, or what's maybe a trait or something of a safe, unsafe person?
Sure, let's do that.
I think it's like this, man. And safe people are safe. I mean, there's no other way to say it. They're safe. When you're safe, you're at peace.
Yeah.
Like when you check into a hotel and it's in a nice area and the hotel is super clean and it's nice, there's this safe feeling of staying there. I've stayed in other hotels where I got the chain lock on the door, I've got the deadbolt, I almost want to push the chair in front of the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not that safe feeling.
Right.
And I think that's the same way in relationships. When you're in the right relationships, you feel safe. My connection to Mike, I feel very safe. I can tell you some of my other friends that make me feel very safe. Good morning. I've got others that I don't feel real safe.
Right.
There's that tight feeling. There's that hesitation. There's that raised eyebrow. There's that looking over your shoulder. And that becomes dangerous in your life when you don't have safe people in your inner circle because of the distraction it brings.
You mentioned earlier that when we were talking about people coming and going in relationships in your life, sometimes you can also tell by it takes energy for you to hang out with someone as opposed to like gaining energy from it. And that's not a 100% litmus test, I would say, but generally people that drain your energy there's a good bet that they're less safe in your life. And so
and
you
that's
can ask
true.
yourself that question. Like, sometimes there's some people that are, and listen, some of us, we have responsibilities, for example, in ministry and in other areas of life. There's responsibilities. Maybe you have to work with people that drain your energy. And I get that, right? I mean, life is complex and it's mixed up. So sometimes you just have to deal with, being around them, but that doesn't mean that you allow them, access to your life. And that's the big difference.
And that all depends on your life's mission. Like Emily asked a good question, which Emily, good to see you, and thanks for blessing Mission 25 last night. How do you tell them without offending them that you can no longer have them in your life anymore? Literally, I've had to do this. I've literally had to do this with dating. I've had to do it with friendships. I literally have had to sit down and explain to people, look, man, I've got to discontinue my connection with you because of my life's mission. Now, in another time, another place, this would make an amazing country song, because in another time, another place, we could probably be bros. If I just had a normal life, I can see us hanging all the time. But right now, we can't. It's a drain on my energy. So there's been girls I've dated that I would have dated them. Like if I lived just a normal life where I just was a dad, had a job, and went to church on Sunday and mowed my grass once a week and washed my car real clean, which I do that, by the way. But, maybe. But another time, another place, but not with what I've got to do. There's no way. And I think how you tell them is you tell them with love, but you're firm. There's nothing worse than a message that's not clear. You ever had someone try to tell you something, you're like, can you just say it? Like, what are you really trying to say here?
What's the point?
What's the point? I just think the best way to handle people, Emily, is with straight up, raw, brutal honesty. And there's nothing wrong with telling somebody, look, man, I think you're an amazing person. I really do. It's just not working for me to hang as much, and it hurts. I mean, truth hurts, but you say it in love. And then, of course, you can just start distancing yourself. And before long, people should get the clue. I mean, what's your thought on that? How would you tell me if you all of a sudden said, Matt, I can't hang out with you anymore? How would you tell me?
I'd push you like this and say, you're a psycho. Get away from me. No.
Which might have happened a few times.
No, I wouldn't do anything like that. I like that. I would actions speak louder than words too. I would definitely have the conversation. Very, very similar to what you said. But, we may be going different directions here. There's nothing, wrong with you. It's just not a good fit.
Not a good fit.
And then begin to sort of act in that direction. And the actions really convey a message, I think. And I'm not saying be passive aggressive. That's not it at all.
No.
It's just that, that means you're not like picking up the phone and calling them. You're not texting them all the time. That sort of thing. Literally, say this is the direction I'm going to go, and then go that direction.
Make the decision.
Because if you waffle back and forth, like, in that gray zone, you send a mixed message. So don't say one thing and do something else.
Al said block him on Facebook and Twitter. That's so true, Al. I had to do that a few times.
You unfriended me.
Like, no, what do you mean I unfriended you? Like, I blocked you. I didn't unfriend you, So, yeah, and something, my friends, this is the tough part about it, and this is the part that, hey, it even hurts. Because like I said, another time, another place, there are people that I would totally have, kept in my inner circle. But there's just no way with what I've got. And that's the price tag of I would say the word greatness, but that's the price tag of having a calling and mission, and a price tag of going places and doing things such as Mission 25. You can't imagine the focus we have to do something like this over the weekend behind the scenes.
Right.
And, there was one more thing I was going to say, and I'm trying to remember it. What were we talking about? We were talking about how do we tell people? But what was the question before that?
It was explaining how can you tell if someone's unsafe prior to that?
No, I can't believe you don't remember. What is this? So anyways, safe people, but it was also, I think it was, I think that here's what I'm going to say real quick. How you'll know if someone needs to be out of your inner circle is, let me tell you right now, peace is your direction. Peace is your answer. The Bible, when it talks about the Proverbs 31 lady, hate to bring this up, but it does say the heart of her husband safely trusts her. Now, you can take that and apply it to all relationships. Safe trust. And I think when you're in a connection with somebody, whether it be dating, business partnership, friendships, there's a safe trust. Like, even if somebody came to me right now and said, I got to tell you something that Mike said about me, I can honestly tell you, I would look at them and start laughing.
Yeah.
Dude, you're out of your mind. So because there's that safe trust, I don't even believe it when they say it. And they don't say it. They don't say it. I mean,
Going after him.
Yeah, Carol's always telling me things you say.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, absolutely. Good stuff everybody shares on here, man. Very good stuff. Yeah, and then at the end of the day, guys, you got to understand something. That's what I was going to say, and I'm going to close the show with this. There's sometimes if you're in doubt about whether someone is safe or not, and I know this is going to sound kind of like, wow, believe it or not, if you're in doubt and you're not sure, test them. If somebody passes the test, and you can test them with small things, Bible says watch and pray.
Right.
And sometimes the best thing to do if you're not sure if someone is safe is just pull back a little bit and watch and test and see how they react and see what their heart is and what their spirit is. And that will tell you, like who a person is will come out. They can only hide it for so long. And you will see, if you put them to the test, you will totally, Al, I love Al. He said, give an example of a test. You got an example of a test, Mike? I know we're way past time. You got an example of a test?
Well, actually, your example of pulling back a little bit is a great example, because that begins to reveal some of the motives of why a person's interested in the relationship in the first place, right? Sometimes you can, I guess, be forthcoming with your feelings about situations and issues that come up in a relationship as well, and maybe be rather direct about it, and that sometimes serves as a good test. I've seen that sort of weed out people that were unsafe, just to see what the reaction is to, and not manipulative. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, maybe just be
safe people won't. See,
well.
You know what? If safe people find out they're being tested, they won't mind. It won't bother.
Yeah.
Like if I'm being tested, whether someone can trust me, that's not going to bother me. It really isn't. I'm not going to be offended by that. I'm going to understand. Okay, that's fine. Trust has to be earned. I have no problem with that. You know what else can I do to make you feel safer? Right, Carol? She's telling us to hurry. We're way past time. Mike, I got to say this, man. The people that share comments, there's some good stuff. Britton said one minister I know said he will give people a small piece of information that doesn't care if it gets out, and the person, that's one thing Anthony Mangan taught me. I remember sitting down with him, and he said, you know what I do? I test people with small things that I don't care if it gets out. But if it gets out, then I'll know whether or not I can trust that person with confidentiality. Next Friday, we ought to talk about how to keep confidence. And I'll say this about keeping confidence. I would never keep a confidence against you. If somebody came to me and said, hey, I want to tell you something about Mike, but I don't want you to tell him, I literally would stop them and say, look, I don't do that. Right. I'm going to let you know you can tell me, but I'm going to tell, as soon as you're done telling me, I'm going to call them and tell them. That's what true friends do. Thank you very much, Pacey. I know we're 8 minutes past time. Are you like sweating here?
No, I'm good.
You good? All right. You usually sweat. Yeah. I mean, anger.
Yeah, I'm an angry.
Drives you to smoking. You smoke afterwards to relieve the stress when we go way over. I'm not a safe person. Anyways, guys, we love you. We'll be hitting you up tonight. Stay tuned for those that want to tap in on a little Mission 25. Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you guys. Julie and Janice, come on down. Mission 25. Mike and I are actually getting ready to go out and do some work now. So much for relaxing today.
Yeah.
Game time, baby. Game time. We got to go scout the land. Anyways, pray for us, my friends. Thank you again. Those that are watching today that didn't get to watch last night, you want to donate to Mission 25, go to mission25usa.com, keyword USA, mission25usa.com. And slap a donation, my friend, 10, 20, 30, 500, 10,000, whatever you feel, and God will bless you. We love you.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you soon.